All right, good morning. Thanks for taking some time to join us today for our webinar. Today's topic is the top 10 risk control recommendations for restaurants and bars, and then we'll also talk about their associated costs that go along with that. Got just a few housekeeping notes to get out of the way to start. Today's presentation will be a slideshow, so you can follow along with the conversation. As we're doing the presentation, you can submit questions anytime. If something pops into your brain, we'll have a Q&A period at the end where we'll try to answer all the questions we can. To submit a question, you can just type them into the control panel under the chat function on the right side of the screen. So just type in your question, hit enter, and I'll be keeping an eye on those, and we'll take a look at them at the end. After today's presentation, which is live, we're doing the presentation live, but it'll be recorded and available under risk management and education and training on our website or on our YouTube channel. Along with that, we are live and we're working across several different states from our home offices. So if we happen to have a technological glitch or a puppy dog that wants to chime in, we always welcome the dogs to have a thought. We'll get started with just a little bit about Society Insurance. If you're not real familiar with the company, we're a regional insurance carrier that's based in Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. We currently write business in 9 states, and we've got Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Tennessee, Colorado, Georgia, and Texas. We've been writing workers' comp coverage since 1915, but today we also have property, general liability, commercial auto coverage. We have a really extensive experience, and our knowledge base is in hospitality industry specifically. We provide insurance for select business niches with a focus on the small details that make the biggest difference. We have several learning objectives today. We're going to review the top 10 recommendations submitted by Risk Control. Then we're going to learn a little bit about the associated costs with these recommendations, and then we'll share some resources that are available to assist in correcting the recommendations. Today we have 3 presenters besides myself. I'm Shelby Blundell. I'm the moderator. I'm a risk improvement rep with Society Insurance. Been with them since 2010. Sometimes it feels like 1910, but a great company to be a part of. I handle mostly the Chicagoland area, but I also do some service work in Tennessee. We've also got Jay Van Derzen. Jay, you want to say hi?
Hello, everybody. How you doing?
And then we got Jarrett Wagner.
Good morning, everybody. As Shelby mentioned, my name is Jarrett. I have been with Society for just under 15 years, and I've been in my current role for a little over 10. I previously handled the Chicago Metro, Indiana area, and I have currently been handling Colorado.
All right, and we also have Levi. You want to say hello?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Levi. I've been with Society for a little bit over 2 years now. Initially was in charge of our Minnesota area, but just recently relocated to Madison, Wisconsin. So taking care of those areas around the surrounding area.
Awesome. Welcome. As with everything these days, we have a quick disclaimer. I'm not going to read it, but it's there for you to take a look at. And then I'm going to turn it over to Jay so we can start the top 10.
All right. Thank you, Shelby. I guess when Shelby introduced me, I forgot to introduce myself fully. I've been with Society Insurance for over 20 years. My territory is the northeastern corner of the state of Wisconsin. Again, Shelby said, great company to work for. We're doing good things here. All right, let's get started with the list. Number 10 on our list of most submitted recommendations pertains to exterior walkway hazards. Now let's get a brief definition of what is an exterior walkway. Well, it can be a sidewalk, patio, driveways, walking paths, parking lots, or decks attached to buildings. What are some of the problems that can occur? Well, your pavement can be broken, cracked, kind of like the picture above. It can be depressed, can be raised, can be slippery, or it can just be uneven. Well, why does that kind of stuff happen? Well, usually some of the factors are age. We all know that, for example, concrete with age shrinks, so it's going to shift and move. There can be poor drainage. You can have water flowing underneath your concrete, which washes away the base of the gravel and the sand, allowing air gaps and concrete to shift and crack. And for all of us up here in the northern climate, typically concrete in the winter shifts and heaves due to the ground expanding. And if your sidewalk is level in the summer, it probably is not going to be level here in Wisconsin or Illinois or out with some of the northern states in the winter. So what are some of the fixes that we can do to prevent some of this stuff from happening? We can make sure the pavement and walkways are always level. We can replace or repair any broken pavement or seal the concrete or the cracked pavement. All right. Number 9 on our list is interior walkway hazards. Well, what is an interior walkway? I'm not going to bore you with any technical definitions, but basically it's an interior floor area where a customer or an employee walks. These can be hallways, restrooms, bar and dining rooms, entryways, coolers or freezers like the picture, closets, storerooms. So what are some of the problems that we see when we do our walkthroughs? Dirty floors, greasy floors, wet or icy floors like the picture, damaged flooring where we see tile missing or carpet torn or carpet bunched up, uneven flooring, and just plain poor housekeeping when there's boxes and garbage and things like that in walkways. What would be some of the recommended fixes? Obviously, repair any damaged flooring. Always make sure your flooring is level. And for some of the problems that I stated, better floor cleaning practices could be needed. And obviously, rugs and mats to help drainage and slippery floors. Number 8 on our list is annual service of fire extinguishers. Fire extinguishers, per several national standards, are required to be inspected once a year by a qualified professional. Now, this photo, I took this photo recently. As you can see by the tag, the extinguisher was last checked in 2018. In that case, we need annual servicing of fire extinguishers just to make sure they work. Also, you guys as business owners should also be looking at your fire extinguishers on a monthly basis, kind of doing visual inspections to see if they're charged and just general good repair. Number 7 on our list is clearance to open flame this is for cooking appliances. This is a hazard that I see quite often. There is a national standard that covers commercial cooking, and that's NFPA 96. I'm not going to bore you with government speak and explain what all occurs in NFPA 96, but basically the standard states that all deep fat fryers shall have at least a 16-inch clearance, that's 1/6, between the fryer and the surface flames of any open flamed appliance. Now you see in the picture attached that the fryer is approximately 2 to 3 inches maybe from an open flamed range top. So what we want to do in that case, basically to fix that problem, you need to move the cooking equipment around to achieve that 16-inch clearance, or you can install an 8-inch high guard between the appliances. For example, the guard, if you do install a guard, it has to run the length of the fryer, and the guard needs to be made from steel or tempered glass. There is one problem if you decide to move around your cooking equipment. What happens is, to achieve that 16-inch clearance by moving equipment around, when you're done moving it around and, oh, I have that 16-inch clearance between an open fryer and an open flame appliance, you look up and realize that not all your appliances are covered by a nozzle from your extinguishing system. So guards typically are a better way to do it. Number 6 on the list, excuse me, is cooking equipment not inspected. This is a recommendation or a hazard that I see quite a bit. And per that NFPA 96 standard, cooking equipment should be inspected or serviced at least once a year and done by a properly trained and qualified professional. These are the people that basically, if your fryer breaks, you call and fix them. You can have them come and service your equipment and also do preventative maintenance, because preventative maintenance is a key to reducing exposures to fire and equipment breakdown and that type of thing. All right. I would like to now introduce Jarrett Wagner for his recommendations from number 5 to number 1.
We're going to stop for just a second and do a quick poll question, get everybody thinking a little bit. So right now we've got a question for everybody is, what is society's most frequently issued recommendation? Is it A, improper storage of greasy rags, B, fire suppression system out of service, C, lack of kitchen exhaust cleaning, or D, dirty grease filters? All recommendations that we make pretty frequently, but there's one that stands out. I got about 60% of y'all have voted. Give you just a second here to go ahead and get a few more votes in. Everyone's leaning towards the fire suppression system so far. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close it out now. It looks like most people are thinking the fire suppression system, but I will let Jarrett give us the correct answer.
Thank you, Shelby and Jay. And sorry, we couldn't afford Steve Harvey, so you are going to have to listen to the final answer on this one is going to be A, improper storage of greasy rags. And we will talk a little bit about that when we get to that slide. But first, the first topic I'd like to cover is dirty grease filters. Now, filters are our first line of defense for capturing grease vapors before they enter the hood and ducts. Now, depending on the volume of cooking, filters should be cleaned at least once a week. And notice how I used at least once a week. That could depend based off of how much grease is being produced during cooking. It is not uncommon, and actually we see this pretty often for restaurants to hire a third-party company to clean, swap out the filters. Now, just because that is the case, it doesn't eliminate the need for the restaurant staff to also keep an eye out for grease accumulation. If they do see that there is some yellowing or grease starting to occur before the service comes in, they should kind of take the onus upon themselves and just kind of clean those to get them back to the bare metal. This next recommendation, it may be number 4 on the list, but this is number 1 in my heart. It's probably the one that I have a lot of personal experience with working in the restaurant business many, many years ago. It's easy to verify regular cleanings based off of the exterior surfaces of cooking equipment. The real fun doesn't begin until you open up the cabinet door to the deep fat fryers. Now, hopefully, you'll find the interior to be as clean as the exterior. Unfortunately, far too often it resembles kind of a cave of horrors. On more occasions than I'd like to revisit, I found grease which has been allowed to accumulate to the point where it forms stalagmites. And while this is unpleasant from a cleanliness perspective, more importantly, you now have large piles of grease surrounded by high temperatures and open flames. If there's any sort of fire in the kitchen, that excess grease has the potential to act as an additional fuel source and make that fire extremely difficult to extinguish. All cooking appliances must be cleaned in accordance with the owner's manual, and more often that is going to be frequent. rather than letting it go. The next picture I have on here, just so you all don't think I'm exaggerating or using wild imagination for the cave analogies. Here are some of the grease stalagmites, and actually, if you look hard enough, you can actually see some stalactites as well. This is unfortunately not uncommon. We see this quite a bit where there's just large piles of grease either on the floor or on the exterior and the interior of the cooking equipment. When it gets to this point, you're going to have to use some sort of like putty knife in order to actually get the grease off the floor. And as working in a restaurant in my prior life, it is extremely unpleasant and will most likely cause you to have to throw away any of the clothes you were wearing while you were cleaning. This next recommendation that we make quite often is the exhaust system not being cleaned. And while it can sometimes be difficult to know how often cleaning is performed on appliances, you really have to ask that question to some of the staff. The exhaust system almost always has the date of its most recent cleaning or inspection right on the outside of the hood. It takes almost all the guesswork away. Professional exhaust cleaning contractors leave a sticker with the date of service and their contact information, so if you have questions, you can follow up with them. They'll also mark any inefficiencies or areas where they were not able to reach. Now, while the frequency of the cleaning can depend on the volume of cooking, the type of cooking appliances play a bigger role in determining how often professional service is required. Now, semi-annual service is the bare minimum. You cannot go any less than having it done every 6 months. But if you have woks or any sort of solid fuel appliances, like wood or charcoal, you may necessitate quarterly or even monthly cleaning. And that is professional cleaning. That's not something that can be done by the restaurant staff. So these last few recommendations that we have been talking about require society risk professionals to use some judgment with regards to how often service or cleaning may be needed. Like I mentioned, the type of cooking equipment and the volume of cooking really plays a factor in determining how often some of those services or cleanings may be done. The extinguishing system is completely different. Per the National Fire Protection Association, all automatic extinguishing systems which protect commercial cooking operations must be serviced by a qualified protection contractor at least every 6 months. It's easy to identify the most recent service dates, just like with exhaust stickers. All of the fire protection contractors leave tags, multiple tags near the systems. You can find them in several different places. These tags note any deficiencies with the system and may advise if they are out of compliance and any issues that may be needed on the next service. And as I'm sure you are all awaiting, from our poll question, we've got our improper storage of greasy rags as the #1 recommendation made by society professionals. Having been in this role for a little bit over a decade, I can safely say no other recommendation has generated more raised eyebrows or follow-up questions. When I tell customers that their bag of greasy, soiled linens, just as you see pictured in the slide, can lead to a potential fire, it's usually met with a look of incredulity and genuine disbelief. In order to combat this confusion, I usually try to provide a very easily digestible explanation. I am not a chemist. I'm not any sort of scientist, so trying to give them just the most generic, basic definition so that they walk away knowing that there is a potential here. So when linens are used to clean, wipe up any sort of grease or oil, they give off heat as they start to dry. So if you have a pile of soiled linens giving off heat, there's nowhere for that heat to go because it's sitting in a pile. In that case, it can result in temperatures reaching an ignition point for the oils and grease. This is it's a relatively easy to correct because you can provide a simple fix to eliminate this exposure. If the soiled or greasy rags are stored in a non-combustible container with a lid, there's no oxygen. So non-combustible, it needs to be metal, something that will not start on fire. And the lid is the most important part here. So if you secure the lid to this can, there's no oxygen. And as we all know, there's no oxygen, there's no fire. There are other fixes that we could do to eliminate this exposure. It depends on the location. You can either keep them outside, you can use disposables, but there are multiple ways that we can go about fixing this exposure. Before we get into our last section, I believe we do have one more poll question, if I'm not mistaken, so I'll turn it back over to Shelby.
Yep. Yeah, that rag recommendation, you're totally right, Jared, has gotten so many questions, but I'll be darned, I'll talk to a restaurant owner and they'll list off 2 different restaurants that they know that have burned to the ground because of that. So it definitely does happen. Okay, according to NCCI, what was the average slip and fall workers' compensation claim cost in 2019? Was it A, $3,525, B, $19,750, C, $48,575, or D, $98,345? Give everybody a little chance here. Got about 75% of people leaning towards B at this point. Give it just a second here. And go ahead and close it. And I will let Levi give us the correct answer.
Thanks, Shelby. Correct answer is C, $48,575. So now that we've heard the top 10 most recommended, we will jump into the statistics and some associated costs just to help put things into perspective a little bit better. So we'll start with the slips, trips, and falls data provided by the National Floor Safety Institute, who estimates over 3 million food service employees and more than 1 million guests are injured each year as a result of slips, trips, and falls in a restaurant or bar setting. They estimate 50% of these are caused by a walkway surface and 24% are caused by footwear. So going back to what Jay was mentioning in his first couple slides, as risk improvement specialists, when we visit your business, we really try to keep an eye out from the parking lot to the walk-in coolers and everything in between. To help recognize some of the financial impacts, we'll just take a look at some of the costs of fires provided by the NFPA. In the 4-year span that they provided here, 2010 to 2014, over 7,400 structure fires in eating and drinking establishments are being reported each year. This resulted in $165 million in direct property damage. What's the leading cause, you might be wondering? Well, it's cooking equipment, no surprise there, 61% of incidents. And it's also good to note that about 21% originate in the deep fat fryer. So as Jarrett stressed in his last couple of recommendations, the interior of the fryers should be routinely cleaned and inspected to control the grease and mitigate the risk of a fire breaking out. Back to you, Shelby.
All right. So whenever we do these webinars, we always try to bring some resources along with us that we can let you guys have access to or take away. That way we don't just show you, kind of tell you what the problems are, but also some opportunities to fix it. We've been doing our webinars for several years now. I've got a lot of different topics that are out there. As soon as we do these live, they're recorded and put on our YouTube channel. So these are things that if you have district managers, local managers, even your staff, you can sit them down at a table during their orientation process and have them watch 1 or 2 of these webinars that have specific topics that you guys need to work on. They can watch them on their smartphone. They're always free to access anytime, so you don't have to sign up for anything. And we've gone through a lot of different topics. So if there's anything specific, and also if there's anything specific you're looking for that we haven't done a webinar on, let us know, and we can always put something together. We also have a lot of handouts, societyinsurance.com under risk control and management. We have handouts for every different topic you can imagine. Most of them are in English and Spanish, but fire extinguisher safety, fabric and linen handling, those are some of them we've been talking about that just give you a one-page, just a quick, like toolbox talk type thing. These are things that you could also print them off and staple them to a paycheck or something and ask the employees to read them when they go home. Can't guarantee they're going to, but if a few of them read them, that's awesome. We've also put together a lot of posters. We get a lot of musculoskeletal injuries and stuff that we have to deal with employees. So the stretching poster, you guys can look at it, hang it up. We can always get those to you. Floor cleaning posters, we have those English and Spanish that just have some good basic information that's good to have posted in the kitchen or bar area to help with the cleanup. We also have a streaming video library that we use. You guys can sign up for that, and the videos are anywhere from a minute, 2 minutes long, up to 30 or 45 minutes, depending on what you're looking for. Every topic imaginable, again, English and Spanish. That is something you can access for free and set up anytime. Use it as much as you want. So we'll take a second and let me take a look and see if we had any questions come in. Looks like I had one question so far. Let's see. Got two. First question is, what are some additional common recommendations, society issues? It looks like they're looking like, okay, beyond the top 10, what are some of the most common? Jarrett, you want to take that?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So a lot of the times, as Shelby mentioned, or is the question, the recommendations that we get may not fall into that top 10. We did not talk about floor mats, which I know a lot of people love talking about floor mat safety and proper use of floor mats. Floor mats can be extremely helpful in preventing slips and trips, but they can also be kind of a terrible contributor to trips if they're not used properly. So making sure that they're always free of any rips. We don't want any waving or wrinkling. There should be no gaps underneath the mats. They should always be completely flush with the floor and have some sort of slip grip on the back of them so they don't move around. Another one that I see quite often, it's overuse of extension cords and power strips, kind of daisy chaining. That might be okay if you're at home for very short periods of time, but when you're using these commercially, that's not how they were designed. And if you look at the manufacturer's instructions, go to their manuals, you'll see that extension cords are not meant to be used as permanent wiring. They're only supposed to be used temporarily. They're not designed to have permanent use, or permanent voltage going through them. So if you see extension cords, you really should have a thought running through your head as to, is this something that is temporary, or are they really using this permanently? And in that case, we need to have an electrician come out and install an actual outlet. Those are two of the other kind of outside looking in recommendations that I see quite often. Shelby, what other questions do we have?
And this being early December, this is the perfect time of year to discuss extension cords and power strips as everyone's running their Christmas lights around. Definitely want to keep the power strips out of the game whenever you're doing a Christmas lights and stuff. The other one I had come in, I think it's just a comment more than a question. I'll follow up afterwards with that one. So I think that was the only one we had come in. So with that, I will thank everybody for taking a little bit to sit with us and hear about the top 10 recommendations. If you have any questions about the recommendations that we talked about, you can still send them to us by email. We will be having another webinar coming up soon. I hope everybody joins us for that one as well. Thanks for joining us today. Have a good day.